Last week, I had my happy and hopefully triumphant return to Culture United. And while I was there were a couple things I wanted to say but didn't. And you might be saying, why not? Well, listen, I don't want to derail the conversation. There's a certain flow, it's a delicate thing. And I got Gambling Groomer off the ground. That's what I really wanted. I didn't make a complete ass out of myself. That's another thing I didn't want. So here are the two things that I maybe would have said if I felt like there was space for it in the conversation. One was the conversation about Atlanta and the sort of downfall of Atlanta, and I want to make the point that the thing that contributed to the rise of Atlanta rap and the party with which it is affiliated has also led to its downfall and to the death of the party. That is the investment in real criminality instead of talented fake gangsters and people who are merely adjacent to the streets as opposed to in the streets. The second point I'd like to talk about today is Stat Quo's declaration that there are only 10 rap superstars. I just love that idea. I was frantically, you can see my notes here, I frantically wrote out while everyone was talking the 10 that it could be. And so I have a list. It's actually 14 rappers long, but I want to draw up an important division. There's two different kinds of rap superstars. Those who are rap superstars because of their music and those who are rap superstars because of their music and visual media. So we're going to kind of try to divide those, come up with a list, get the conversation going. So thing number one, how the rejection of fake gangsters led to Atlanta becoming the rap capital and perhaps ultimately led to its downfall. For that, I want to refer to this book, Rap Capital by Joe Coscarelli. Get my glasses on here. And on page 44, he explains what I call the original sin of Atlanta rap. He talks about Lee, who's a very powerful record label owner and manager kind of guy in a power broker in Atlanta. And he talks about someone pulling up and someone who held the purse strings and was trying to get one of his clients to get signed to Lee's label. Upon pulling up, Lee met the man holding the purse strings, a hustler known as Lil J, who had designs on becoming the next big rap CEO like Master P. Lil J was 21, a native of Hawkinsville, Georgia, and he had a 2001 Lexus sitting on 20-inch rims. He knew of Lee's work with Pastor Troy and seemed open to input on his would-be label. But Lil J declared firmly he was not a rapper. Lee immediately knew otherwise. Despite his protestations, Lil J had laid down a few cursory verses on his artist's songs, and his raspy country drawl, along with his untouchable, seen-it-all demeanor and street shine, were what stuck out to the budding talent scout in his midst. Lil J wasn't a musician yet, but there was something there to mold, and soon enough he had a new stage name, Young Jeezy. Lee's work with Jeezy would be a kind of formula for the manager and his artists, one that would be repeated in hoods around the country, but especially in Atlanta. Over and over again for the years to come, a street guy with excess swag and cash, or at least a loyal hood patron, might bristle first at the idea of making art out of his life, but with the encouragement and ear of someone like Lee, he would come to see music as a path towards peace and prosperity that the streets could never offer. Rap audiences growing more obsessed with authenticity, not to mention the production and sale of drugs with everything that lifestyle afforded, hustlers who actually knew the game in every detail came with an upper hand and had stories to tell. In Atlanta, a lot of people could recognize the real thing. So it's pretty clear. Authenticity over artistry. A specific kind of authenticity, a kind of criminal authenticity. Is it any shock that this is all crumbling down with these RICO cases and all this other horse hockey when the primary thing that was prized was not talent, it was actual street authenticity? Later on, he talks about how Young Thug was brought in basically the exact same way. It was Pee Wee who first brought Young Thug to Brick Factory, which was Gucci Mane's studio space. Then a beautifully scraggly string bean with face tattoos and a mess of mangled teeth like shattered glass. Damn. Young Thug was from the south of the city, a total stranger to Gucci Mane, Mr. East Atlanta. But after taking one look at him, Gucci repurposed the $25,000 in cash he had waiting to pay Pee Wee to sign Pee Wee, and gave it to Thug instead, certain he'd found a superstar. So you see, it's about the appearance of authenticity, it's about the authenticity, and it is not the artistry. I would argue that's the issue, that any art that is built not on art cannot last forever. You can't have it be forever. And that's what's funny about the history of rap, is that rap is filled with fake gangsters. That's part of what makes it. That's part of what made the early days. I mean, we talk about gangster rap, and okay, everybody knows that Eazy-E really dealt rocks, but he did. But like, if you actually do his biography, like, not much. Like, he wasn't much of a criminal. I mean, he was, but it didn't really matter because he wasn't writing his lyrics anyways. Ice Cube was. Ice Cube was the architect of the modern crack-selling gangster rapper who is an architect. He has a degree in architectural drafting from the Phoenix Institute of Technology. Okay? Was not about that life. He's a real rapper, real talent. He was adjacent to the streets. By the streets, I mean like the criminality that happens in the disadvantaged neighborhoods of the United States of America. The streets. Okay? And Read My Soul, you should really watch. He does a lot of work on this as well, about like the difference between the streets and the hood, and that everyone grows up in the hood, but not everyone goes into the streets. I have obviously no life experience with the streets or the hood, right? I mean, I'm here in my daughter's bedroom. I got a Boy Genius poster behind me, right? So definitely check out his stuff on there. But I think what's important is this idea that maybe as this party is dying, we're just going to see less of an emphasis on authenticity, on people who really kill people and people who really slang rock. And we can just go back to people who are adjacent to the streets, in but not of the streets. Who is the biggest rap star right now? The king of adjacent to the streets, Kendrick Lamar. That's what Good Kid, Mad City is. That's why it's such an amazing album, because he's a good kid, but he's in the Mad City. Many of the best rappers of all time, that maybe they had some small amount of criminality at some point that they draw on or that they discuss out of necessity or out of exploring, trying to figure out who they are. But for the most part, most of the best rappers, the best artists, are those who put artistry above authenticity and who are adjacent to the streets. Think of Nas. Think of probably the best example, although I'm not sure he would like it, but Tupac. Tupac is someone who is very capable of describing a lifestyle, of describing what he sees around him without necessarily being the thing that he can describe. I know I'm going to annoy a lot of people on there, but I love Tupac. Part of what I think makes Tupac so interesting is what is his actual relationship to criminals and criminality. I mean, there have been books written about it. It's very complex. I don't have the answers, but it's a complicated question. So there's so many examples of the in but not of the street rappers, and it allows for the maximum variability with how you treat the streets. Because you could say it's something to run away from, something to aspire to, something to heal from, something to fight, something to fix, something to praise, something to lament, like all those things. And I think that the used to be gangsters fit into this category as well. I mean, Jay-Z and Biggie, they weren't rapping about doing it, they were rapping about having done it. And I think that's a very big difference. Same thing with Clips. I mean, what percentage of Jay-Z's life was he actually selling crack cocaine? At this point, it is a fraction of his life. What comes along with this emphasis on real criminality are the real crime hip-hop commentators, who most people agree are not hip-hop commentators, they're crime commentators. The biggest example of this is obviously Trap Lord Ross. Trap Lord Ross, if he had to describe art, culture, would be nobody, like literally nobody, because he's not particularly good at that. Maybe I'm wrong. I'd love for him to drop his ways and do something more interesting, like talk about culture and art instead of ghoulishly eating popcorn while people die. But the thing is this, the technology that came after this whole, the deal with the devil in Atlanta of deciding that it's more important to showcase people who are actual criminals as opposed to actual artists. Not a deal with the devil, but maybe, I don't know. It's an interesting question whether or not it's sort of the original sin, like I'm putting it forth. It's maybe overly religious terminology. I'm not entirely comfortable with it, but along after that happened, we had the rise of the internet and Instagram, and we had all the tracks were laid by artists like Young Jeezy to be okay as a rapper, but a real killer and a real criminal. And so once the internet showed up, you could have more and more disposable, mostly young men who just go through and are talented enough to rap, to be able to kind of rap a little bit, but are the real thing because people can sense the real thing, and it becomes this kind of insidious, terrible spectacle that people just watch. And then the rappers actually die, and then the people, so you have the commentators who talk about the criminals, who talk about killing people, and they eat the popcorn, and they go, and then that person gets shot, and they eat more popcorn, and they go, and they cash their checks from AdSense, and then they wait for the next guy to show up, and it just keeps going and going and going, because the emphasis is not on the culture that can describe the conditions that create the criminality. It is just culture of the criminality itself. So like, maybe that's part of the party that's dying. Maybe that's why things are getting better. That's why it feels better. Maybe that's why we need Kendrick Lamar at the center and not Drake, who is neither adjacent to nor a part of the streets, but yet outsources his masculinity to people who are like in the streets and who are actual criminals and all that stuff. He's this like this joke version of this thing. You get the street guys to do the work for him. So I don't know. What do you think of that idea? Would that have been fun for me to bring up? I mean, no one wants me bringing out a book, you know. But I've even mentioned that on a previous Culture United. But I think it's really important because like that's a real difference. If you're trying to have artists who are criminals first and artists second, how long can that last? Okay, thing number two. Shout out to Justin Hunt. I love the way he says something number two. I just love it. The 10 superstars. So, StatQuo made the point that there are only 10 rap superstars. And so we were having a little discussion about whether or not Young Thug was a superstar. And the idea was like, it has to be able to be understood by your grandmother, like someone so famous that your grandmother's heard of them. I would go one step further and say, no, your kids' friends have to have heard of them. Or in my case, as a college professor, the freshmen have to have heard of them. Like stars who go above hip hop and are actual, not just stars in the public society, but superstars. And my argument is that there are 14. Now, this is a super duper open debate, and I swear to God, I forgot at least 3, so you feel free to tell me in the comments. I almost forgot to put Dr. Dre on this list. I was like this close to forgetting to put Dr. Dre on the list. So like, I'm sure I'm forgetting people, but I want this conversation to go, right? I want this to be like my dream, you know, like Culture United is not pardon the interruption or pardon my take or whatever, but like that's always kind of what I would like hope it would break into sometime, you know? So that's why I like this idea of like, who are the 10 rap superstars? So I broke them into a list, okay? But this is the question. Is it mostly music that they're superstars for? I argue there's only 3 rap superstars who are more than 50% known for their music. Only 3. That's according to my calculations. I say there are 6 who are mostly known for either visual arts, which is to say like TV, movies, advertisements, or lifestyle, right? That might be like success in business, success in love, scandal. So I have a list of 6 of those, and then I have 5 where I don't know in which category to put them, and that's going to be the most fun for you to decide. So who are the 3 who are mostly music? You can see that, right? Kendrick, Eminem, and Drake. I think those are the 3 rap superstars who are household names, and even though they do other stuff, obviously 8 Mile, whatever, they're known for their music. That is their primary contribution. That is how they are best known. For better or worse, that is how they are best known. And now obviously there are much more mostly visual media and assorted reasons superstars. All right, so I think obviously number 1's got to be Will Smith. You got Ice Cube there, maker of great movies. LL Cool J, the J's down there. Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, and Marky Mark. Yes, Marky Mark counts. Even though he was pop hip-hop, even though he represented like what could have been the actual end of hip-hop if he had a more successful career, he did become an actor because he was a rapper, even if he was a fake-ass rapper. If Vanilla Ice had managed to make that shift, he'd be on this list as well. But he didn't. Even though Cool as Ice is objectively a really fun movie to watch. Your name's Cat. I mean, obviously, the weirdest thing about this is that most of these people are famous for having played or currently portraying police officers, especially Ice-T. That's quite weird. How West Coast this is. Ice Cube, LL Cool J, Ice-T, and Snoop Dogg are all West Coast guys. Will Smith is the only one who isn't. But these are undeniably hip hop stars. They come out through hip hop. That's where they come up through. I guess you could argue Marky Mark came up through pop, not through hip hop, but I don't know. I wanted to put him on the list because he is a superstar. Oh, his name is Mark Wahlberg now, by the way, in case you didn't know. And then there's the 5 where I can't call it. So you tell me, what do you think? Do you think they're mostly music or mostly other stuff? Kanye, Jay-Z, Hammer, Dr. Dre, 50 Cent. Kanye, is he mostly known for his music or is he mostly at this point known for his antics? Jay-Z, is he mostly known for his music or is he mostly known as being not just a businessman, but a businessman and being Mr. Beyonce? Hammer. I put Hammer on there because even though he was so famous, it's really hard for you to understand how famous Hammer was. And he was absolutely a musician first, and he was a huge international superstar. But yeah, he's the only one I almost took off the list because I don't know if he's current, but I think we have to put him there. Wait, did I say LL Cool J was from the West Coast? He's from Queens. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say LL Cool J's from the West Coast. Whew. Man, I've lost a lot of subscribers this week, but that right there, that would be unforgivable. I'm just realizing I accidentally said that. Got Hammer. Dr. Dre. Is Dr. Dre more famous for being a music maker? A talent scout? A businessman who did beats? I think Dr. Dre should be over the mostly music. I think that's pretty clear. And then 50 Cent. Is 50 Cent more famous for being the rapper who did all those songs, or is he more famous for being, I don't know, the vitamin water guy, the get rich or die trying guy, the empire guy, right? So anyways, that's my list of 14. What do you think? Isn't this kind of a fun discussion? Who are the rap superstars? What was that? Cypress Hill song? Wanna be a rap superstar, live large, the drunk charge, the big cars. But I should have looked that up. That's as much as I got. All right, well anyways, thank you all. I hope you found this video fun. Just a little light thinking here on a Wednesday about the nature of Atlanta rap and who the rap superstars are. All right, until next time, there's the camera. Oh, I'm Professor Skye. God damn it. Thank you for auditing the Always Positive New Music Review Show hosted by a French professor who wants you to smash like bucket and subscribe. There's the camera.